I'm going to move on to the next section here. The next section was called karma. So I'm just going to move it along here. Karma. Does everybody here know what karma is? Can anybody explain karma to me?
Karma means feedback, bad feedback.
Feedback, exactly. So what you do kind of comes back around to you. What about, like me personally, I believe in karma. Do we all believe in karma? That like what you do will come back around to you?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe.
Cool, yeah. I think most people do on some level. Some people disagree on how much, but I definitely believe it comes back around. So in the picture here, what do we see? We see a guy, we see a man, and he's sitting in a chair, and he's pushing the domino, he's pushing the block, and what's going to happen?
Then it will just keep falling.
All the blocks are going to come around and finally get him, right? So this is a very good picture for karma. And let's have a look. So we have some vocabulary words, and I just want to practice saying these words. So you can just repeat after me, everybody. Karma.
Karma. Karma.
Pronunciation. So we already know what karma is. The next word is sentient. 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 So sentient is an adjective. It's an adjective for our senses. So we have senses, right? We can see, we can hear. How many senses do we have? Human beings. We have five senses. Five senses. So we are sentient with our five senses. Okay. The next word, violence.
Violence.
Violence means causing harm, hurting somebody or something against their will. We should never cause violence to the world. Now, there's something that might look similar to violence, but it's different. The next word is force. Force. So in a minute, we're going to see the difference between violence and force. There's a big difference between maybe using force to move something or protect yourself and violence. They're very different. The next word is aggression.
Aggression.
So aggression means being very angry, violating people's space. It's very similar to violence. The next word is principle.
Principle.
So a principle is a rule that you live by in life. It's like your own rules. It's not really what the government tells you or what you have to do at your job. Your principles are your rules. So anybody who's ever helped raise a child, we should help give principles to children to help them have rules that they should live by, principles. So what are some principles we have? Does anybody like to steal things? No, we don't steal things. That goes against our principle. And do we all work hard at school and at work? Do we work hard or are we lazy?
Yes, we work hard.
Yeah, we try to work hard. Those are our principles. All right, and the next word is captivity.
Captivity.
So captivity is like the pictures we looked at earlier. Captivity, like when you keep animals in a cage or a person in prison, that's called captivity. Most people don't really think a lot about captivity, but we really need to understand karma and captivity. So did we all understand this? What we talked about so far? Cool. So we're going to move on here. Okay, so karma. I need somebody to read the definition of karma. Abby, can you read the definition for karma?
Your actions will decide your future. Actions have reactions.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That's a good definition for karma. Let's have a look at what that means. So this man here, his name is Isaac Newton, and he was a scientist in England in the 1600s. Isaac Newton did some interesting work with things like light and how things move in nature. The story goes, has anybody heard this story? He was sitting underneath a tree and then an apple fell and hit him in the head. And he said, why did that happen? So Isaac Newton, after the apple hit him on the head, so we've heard, it's similar to me dropping, it's because of gravity, right? So Isaac Newton, he wrote down some laws for how things move. How do things move around in nature? So there are several laws. Here we can see 3 laws. But the only one we want to look at today is law number 3. So law number 3. Josephine, can you read law number 3?
For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction.
An equal and opposite reaction. So that word, action, where have we seen that word before? Action. Did we see that in the definition for karma? It says your actions. It's just like Newton's law. So Newton's third law, it basically says for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Somebody else also said, you receive from the world what you give to the world. So yeah, this is Newton's law. And so Newton's third law, it's very scientific, right? We can measure it with microscopes and chemistry and math. It can all be measured with science, all that fun stuff. But how about karma? Karma is a bit different. It's not scientific, it's spiritual. Here's another good image for karma. This is a god in the Buddhist religion, and he's got something here called the third eye. And this is a good symbol for karma. This is the karmic wheel, very similar to the endless knot we looked at. And so we just looked at Newton's third law. How about the law of karma? Kelly, can you read what it says for karma?
Okay. Karma means action or work. It also refers to the
spiritual principle.
Spiritual principle of cause and effect, where the actions of a person cause influence the future of that person effect.
Okay, very nice job reading there, Kelly. Thank you very much. So this is just saying the same thing that Newton's law does. Newton's law is scientific, but the law of karma is spiritual. So we don't need to do that one here. So earlier we talked about the pattern of the endless knot, and it's an interesting pattern. You'll see it all over the world in different spiritual practices. Has anybody ever heard of chakras? Have you seen this? Chakras, like lines that go all up and down your body. Has anybody ever heard of chakras before?
No.
Okay. All right. So maybe someday we can learn more about them. But it's just basically showing that the endless knot, you'll see that pattern in many spiritual traditions around the world. Okay. So we'll keep on going here. So Newton's law is scientific, karma is spiritual, but it's the same law. They mean the same thing. Okay, here's a picture that basically it's a good representation of karma. So Joanne, what do we see in the picture? What's this guy doing?
Yeah, this guy throws some things into to try to break the window. Then that maybe the stuff just get back to the human.
Yeah, very good. So this guy here, he's throwing a brick through the window. He's very satisfied with himself. He's having a lot of fun. But what's going to happen is that same brick is going to come around and hit him in the head. This is basically how karma works. I think in life we've all done something similar to this, and then we learn a lesson. So that's basically how karma works. We always have to pay attention to karma. How about here? What do we see here in the picture? Can anybody, so Abby, can you describe what we see in the picture here?
What is that?
Everybody put some trash to other side.
Yeah, perfect. We see the first person here in the picture. He's just dumping the garbage right over. He doesn't care about the next person. He says, hey, you take it. And then that person does it to somebody else and somebody else. And eventually it comes back around to you. So it's just a good picture to show how karma works. Okay, so we'll keep going here. And here's a question. Do most people understand karma? What do you think? Think of the people that you work with, people in your family, people in politics and government. Do you think most people in the world really understand how karma works? People are doing a good job living with karma?
I don't think, especially for politicians, they do not believe karma. That's why that all the politicians in all over the world did the same mistakes.
My student Joanne, very smart, incredible. Thank you very much. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you very much. Yeah, most people do not understand karma. So here's just a funny picture of just like, oh man, people just watching all these stupid people around the world. It's very, very difficult, right? So it's not easy to watch people. So interesting one there. And here's another picture. This is how most people understand karma. They're not paying attention. They've got their head in the sand, and it says danger, high voltage, electricity. So most people around the world, they're very similar to this animal, just got their head in the ground and not paying attention. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next term here. The next word is sentient. Sentient. Okay, so whose turn is it to read next? Josephine, can you read the definition of sentient?
Sentient, the adjective for sense. Humans and animals have senses in order to feel.
Okay, thank you very much, Josephine. So yeah, that word sentient, who here has ever heard that word before? Did you hear it before you came to my class today? Who's heard that word sentient before? Okay, just checking. All right, so yeah, so sentient are five senses. We have our five senses. So human beings are sentient. We all agree, right? What about animals? Are animals sentient?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Yes, we should all agree animals are sentient, right? Dogs and cats and all other animals, they can hear, see. They are just as sentient as we are. Maybe sometimes more, maybe less, but they are sentient, absolutely. How about this dog? Does he look happy?
Yes.
I don't know. Look at
No.
yeah. I said the dog looks very sad. So I basically showed this picture because he is sad because he is sentient and he's locked in a cage. So it's important to understand captivity and sentience. There's a connection there. All right, what's next? So I thought this one was funny. Okay, so we have a dog and a cat on one side of the table. These are house pets. And on the other side of the table, there's livestock, farm animals. And Joanne, what do the dog and cat say?
Yeah, if we are mistreated, the humans go to please.
The humans go to prison, and then the farm animals say, "Oh man, I'm so jealous. It's not fair." So I thought this one was very interesting because isn't that true? Like, why are dogs and cats like? If somebody hurts your dog, you're gonna go get them, right? You're gonna stop them. You say, "Hey, that's my dog."
That happens in Taiwan, but they do not go to the jail. They are fined, or they got a ticket, then they are fined to pay some money to settle down that. Okay, but
Okay, but it doesn't matter if they go to jail. People still stop them, right? If somebody hurts your dog, you're going to stop them some way or another.
Yeah.
But farm animals, man, what about the farm animals? They're saying, oh man, why don't we get that? So they're all just as sentient, right? The pets and the farm animals, they're sentient, but maybe have you ever thought about that? How it's not really fair for some animals? It's interesting to think about because we don't think as farm animals as being sentient, but I think that they are. So if we want to understand karma, you have to understand that farm animals are sentient, just like your dogs and cats. Okay. Yeah. This picture here. Let's see. So Kelly, what do you see in the picture?
A lot of fruit, maybe apple, fall down.
Yeah.
Fall down.
All the fruits, all the apples and all the leaves are falling to the ground. Do you see any people in this picture? Are there any people there making this happen?
No.
No, there's no people. So the fruits and the leaves, they fall off the tree naturally. They're not taken. The plant wants that stuff to fall because the plant wants to spread its seed around and it wants to bring nutrients to the soil. So it's important to understand that fruits and leaves will just fall off a plant. We're going to talk about that. So yeah, a lot of people say, what's the difference between killing an animal and a plant? They say plants have feelings too. And I say, yeah, kind of, but not the same. A plant, it's very important to understand that a fruit, it comes right off a plant. The plant does not feel pain. the plant gives the fruit away. It just falls off naturally. The same way like your hair will fall out naturally. The plant wants the fruit to be taken and eaten. The plant wants animals to take it because the plant wants to spread its seed around and it wants to bring nutrition back to the ground. So the plant will give away all the food. So it's basically, it's not hurting anything. So the tomatoes will just fall right off the plant. Even if there are no people around, it's going to fall right off. And so it's important to understand that plants do not feel pain because they have no nerves. Here's a picture of nerves. So if you pinch yourself, it hurts, right? Because of the nerve. But what about like in your hair? If somebody cuts your hair, does it hurt?
No.
No.
No, it doesn't hurt when you get a haircut because you don't have nerves in your hair. You can cut it, it doesn't hurt. Just like a plant with fruits and vegetables, they don't hurt. They don't feel pain. Or when you clip your fingernails, there's no nerve endings there. So that's very important to understand with karma because plants don't feel, they don't have nerves, they don't feel, and they also give the fruit away. So there's nothing wrong. There's no bad karma there. However, this next thing we're going to talk about is violence. Violence. Joanne, can you read the definition for violence?
Yeah, violence, hurting a sentient life.
Good. Violence is hurting a sentient life. So if you pull a tomato from a plant, is that violence?
No.
No, because there's no pain and it's not a
No
sentient.
nerves.
Yeah, perfect. Very good. There are no nerves. Okay, so violence is hurting a sentient life. But what's the difference between taking a tomato and having a chicken leg or a chicken wing? Does the chicken just say, "Hey, here you go. Have my arm, have my wing, take it," just like the plant does? Does the bird give the wing away?
Yeah, sure. They have the sense. They have the senses, so they are sentient.
Yeah, they are sentient. So if you take the part from an animal to get nutrition, that's using violence. It's very different from getting nutrition from a plant. Very different. So with a plant, there's no violence, but when you take food from a sentient being, that's violence. So here's just a picture of violence. We see a man on the ground and somebody stronger hurting him. But what I want to talk about next is something different. It's called force. Force. So Abby, can you read the definition for force?
Not the same as violence. Force can be used to keep yourself safe if you are being attacked with violence.
Good. It's not the same as violence. Force can be used to keep yourself safe if you're being attacked with violence. So what we saw here, this is violence. But what about this next picture? This picture, is this the same thing? Is this violence or is this force? What's the difference between this and this? Is there a difference? So in this one, the person's on the ground. He's saying, "No, stop, I don't want to do this."
Bullying. The
Yeah,
first
so-
one is bullying, then the other one is kind of.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Joanne. So these two men, this is different. This one, the person is on the ground. They can't defend themselves. But these two men, they're about the same size and they're the same strength, and they're not using violence. These two men are using force. It's very different to know the difference between them. So force is just keeping yourself away, using your power to keep violence away, and that's very different from violence. But a lot of people in the world, they don't know the difference, but we need to know the difference. Okay, so that's one's there. And then the next one is captivity. Whose turn is it? Joanne, can you read about captivity?
Captivity. When a sentient life is not free to live as it needs to prison.
Good. When a sentient life is not free to live as it needs to. Prison, basically. Yeah, prison. Let me just check here. Yeah, so keeping things in captivity. A lot of animals are kept in captivity. I wanted to say, yeah, so if a life is sentient and we keep it in captivity, that bad karma will definitely come back around to us. So like we were saying earlier, you guys in Taiwan are not in captivity. You guys can go out and have fun. But most people around the world, I can't really leave my home right now. Most people around the world are stuck. So is there any connection with the karma? So we keep the animals in captivity, and now most people around the world are also in captivity. It's important to kind of make that connection. Okay, and yeah, this was from the movie we were talking about. Joanne saw it. Yeah, this is just a movie about a violent man. Silence of the Lambs. So in this movie, this is a violent man, and he's kept in captivity. He's kept away. So when I see this picture, it just reminds me of human beings right now. Most people in the world are not free to leave or go anywhere. We're kind of in captivity. Yeah, so this woman, she can't leave. And I'm basically in the same situation here. Yeah, this is basically captivity when people are not free to leave. What is this place? This is the airport. The airport. Has anybody been to the airport recently? No, I did not think so. Nobody has been to the airport in quite a long time. I used to love the airport. I used to go here all the time. I cannot go here right now because I am in captivity. I am stuck. I'm not free to leave or go anywhere. It's been a good half a year now. I have not been anywhere. I used to love traveling, but I have not lately. Okay. And yeah, so there's a connection. These people, they're stuck in their homes. They cannot leave, just like the animals that we pay. So if we're paying money to keep animals in captivity, that will come back around to us. Okay. And until we learn the lesson of when we keep animals in captivity, we ourselves are going to be kept in captivity. Until we learn the lesson of karma, this is going to be us stuck in our homes, not going anywhere. Okay. Here's just something from a popular TV show. This is a show called Tiger King. Has anybody here seen Tiger King before? Seen the show on Netflix? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very popular one. So in the show, this guy, Joe Exotic, he's the main character of the show, and he made a lot of money by keeping tigers in captivity, right? So he had these really beautiful, powerful animals, and they were kept in these small little cages, right? What do we think about this? Is it okay to keep tigers in these small cages like this? Is this a good thing?
No.
No, I don't think so. So this guy, Joe Exotic, he made a lot of money by keeping these animals in captivity, right? And what do we think about karma? Karma comes back around. So he kept these animals in captivity. What has happened to Joe Exotic? Where is he now? Anybody know? Right now, Joe Exotic is in prison. He is in captivity. He was arrested and he was put in prison, and he's probably not going to be allowed out. He was arrested by the U.S. government. Yeah, he was arrested by the government, and so yeah, now he himself is in captivity. So pretty interesting one there. How that worked out. Here's a good picture. Here's a good picture here. I kind of wanted to show how a lot of people with their jobs, a lot of people feel trapped at work, right? A lot of people don't like their jobs. They feel stuck. People feel like they're in captivity at work. They're not free to leave. And it's very similar to the way that we treat animals. So we keep animals locked up and they're not free to leave. And the way we do our jobs, the way we work, we're often kind of stuck there. We're not free to leave. This struck me as important because I think that the karma exists, because the same year I stopped eating meat it was about 2 or 3 years ago. I stopped eating meat. And that same year is the year that I finally stopped needing to go to an office. I started working for myself, making money on my own, and I have not been into an office that same year. So I think there was some karma going around with that. Okay, thank you very much. We'll keep on going here. All right. There was an interesting movie called The Cove about dolphins in captivity. We don't have to look at that now. We'll look at that next time or later. And so, yeah, has anybody ever been to a place like this, like SeaWorld, where we go see dolphins?
Yes.
Okay, so these dolphins can swim. They can travel for hundreds and hundreds of miles. They can communicate over great distances, but they're stuck and trapped in these small little aquarium cages. So there's an interesting documentary called The Cove that I recommend everyone go to see. It's about how these animals are in captivity. So I'll keep on just moving along here. Okay, and then we have aggression. Aggression is similar to violence. It's just threats or violence. Okay, moving along here. Here's just some pictures of aggression. Aggression, people fighting, and aggression. And now we're going to talk about principle. Principles. So Kelly, can you read the definition of a principle?
Okay. Principle, a rule that people have in life.
Good. A principle is a rule that people have in life. Okay, so what we're going to talk about, we're going to learn about something called the non-aggression principle. So this next definition is called the non-aggression principle. I want everyone to help me say that. Can we say that together? Can we say the ready, go. The
Non-aggression principle.
Okay, thank you very much. So here's the definition for the non-aggression principle. Abby, can you read the definition for the non-aggression principle?
The non-aggression principle. When a person does an action that does not hurt a sentient life, any harm you put into the world will come back to you. You must protect yourself from violence while only using force to keep violence away from you.
Okay, thank you very much, Abby. Very good job reading. So the non-aggression principle is basically how karma works. If you hurt something, you'll be hurt back. That's just a definition of that there. And so we've learned some new vocabulary words, right? We practice sentient and violence and all that stuff. Now that we've practiced our vocabulary words, let's practice using them in a sentence here. So Josephine, can you read this sentence here?
If we have caused violence to a sentient life, this is a violation of the non-aggression principle. Karma will return to us. Factory farms create captivity for sentient life.
Very good job reading, Josephine. Thank you very much. If we help cause violence to a sentient life, this is a violation of the non-aggression principle. Karma will return to us. Factory farms create captivity for sentient life. Thank you very much. So what do we all think about this? Do we agree with this statement, with our new vocabulary words and what I've typed up here? Is this how karma works?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we'll move on here. Here's just a picture here. So on the side it says, "Is karma real?" A lot of people don't think it's real. They say, "Ah, that's fake. Whatever. It's I'm not going to get in trouble. I can lie. I can cheat. I can steal. Nothing bad's going to happen." So the question, so we see in the picture here, the coyote. He's walking over air, and what's going to happen? He's saying, "Is karma real?" Yes, karma is absolutely real. If you go around doing stupid things and hurting people, eventually it's going to come back around to you. There will be an effect. Okay. Let's see here. Correspondence just basically means a connection. So correspondence just means a close similarity, a connection, or an equivalence. So what we see here, the numbers, we can say 1 and 2 have a correspondence. They're very similar. The same thing is happening. And the same thing with the scale, it's a correspondence. The correspondence, the law of correspondence is that which is above is like that which is below. So the tree has a correspondence with the image in the water. Here's a quote from a famous writer from a long time ago. A writer, his name was Leo Tolstoy, and Leo Tolstoy was a vegetarian. He did not eat meat. He thought that meat was going to bring bad karma back around to him. So he had this really interesting quote about eating meat and karma, how that bad karma comes back around. So Joanne, can you please read the quote on the screen here? What does this say?
As long as there are slaughterhouses, there will always be battlefields.
Good. As long as there are slaughterhouses, there will always be battlefields. So what he means by that is these pictures down below. So here we have a slaughterhouse where people kill animals and cause all this violence. And as long as we're doing this to animals, that violence is going to come back around to us. So we see men on a battlefields. And so he's basically making the connection. As long as we do all this violence to animals, this will come back around to us. So we see the soldiers on the ground there. And, oh man, it's very interesting. What are the soldiers wearing? What do they have on? Do they have on a breathing mask? Yeah, very interesting. Everyone around the world is, all throughout time, people have needed masks. So there could be a connection with the karma there. Okay, so Yeah, it's just basically saying as long as we do all this violence to animals, the violence will come back around to us. So that's a good quote there. I guess, Kelly, can you read what it says here? It says, there is a correspondence.
There is a correspondence in the way that we treat animals and in the way that we are treated by the world.
Good. So there's a correspondence, there's a connection in the way that we treat animals and in the way that we are treated by the world. So I think we all agree with that after after we've looked at all this stuff about karma. Okay, very good. All right. Now this is just a quote from a song that I like, and I need someone to try to read this. So Abby, can you read the quote here?
It all comes back to you. You are bound to get what you deserve. Try and test that you are bound to get served.
Serves. All right, very good. Those are just lyrics from a song from a band named Sublime, and this is just song lyrics, and they just basically describe karma, what happens with karma. So I just wanted to read that one there. And the last thing here is, if you get your nutrition by using violence against sentient life, you will always bring bad karma back to you. Okay. All right. So I know the difference, right versus wrong, when it comes to meat.
This could get worse. This could be a new one next year. There could be another one the year after.
It could just be our new reality, just pandemic after pandemic.
Yeah.
Whenever civil unrest starts happening in the streets, they just go, here's a new pandemic.
Well, the
Bat
problem
flu
is
number 2.
The problem is when you get large groups of people, right? You're going to have large groups of people that need food.
Yeah.
And then you have factory farming. So factory farming is the cause of a lot of these pandemics. And then this fucking wet market is real similar in that regard.
This has been a big
diseases jump.
The vegans are kind of, this is a decent time, right? To
Except
make
for
that
their
point.
immune systems.
Right. They're making that vegan point. Are the wet markets factory farming though? That seems pretty independent.
No, it's not factory farming,
Okay,
but it's animals in confinement and surrounded by other animals living in these unnatural environments. That's what it is. Wet markets are foul.
But can you avoid that when you got to feed a population like that?
Well, Osterholm, yeah, you can feed them bugs. Osterholm had a whole, he was the guy that scared the fuck out of everybody when he came on my podcast, but
terrified me.
He has a whole section in this book that he wrote from 3 years ago, from 2017, about wet markets and how the next pandemic's going to come out of a wet market.
So we got to shut him. We got to try to persuade China to shut him down.
They're not going to. You know what they did say? They're taking dogs off the livestock listing. Like, yay, you guys are doing good.
What about bats? Get the bats out of there.
So let me move on to the next section here. I just want to keep up with what I'm doing here. All right, so the next section is called Carnism. I heard Joanne was curious about what Carnism means.